Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Barakatha Yahweh, Barakatha Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakal Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who are the apostles and elders of Yasharallah. Peace and salutations to the Bayaf that would doubt the house of David, the hopeful elect. And the name of this video is going to be called Edom is Here Today. And the reason why I want to go into that history is because this truth, okay, is coming to the four corners of the earth. All right, it's being prophesied upon the four corners of the earth that the real Jews are the so-called Black, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and you so-called white people are the Edomites. All right, and the reason why I say so-called white people is because you're not white. Nobody's white. What you see in the screen is white. You're red, and the scriptures identify you as Edomites. And so what's happening is there's a denial, all right, and a doctrine and a teaching that Edom has been done away with during the time of the Maccabees, man. And that's not true. Okay, that the lineage died off, that all of Edom died off. No, which takes place in Obadiah, which is a future prophecy that didn't happen yet. But what they're trying to say is that Obadiah took place in during the time of the Maccabees, which is not true. All right, and I'm gonna prove to you through the power and spirit of Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai, all right, that Edom is here today. Now, what I have right here, and I've done this before, you know, and I like to come back to it, is going into the Herodian dynasty. Now, when you go into the Herodian dynasty, it talks about the stock of them. Here, now, this is what it says. It says the Herodian dynasty was a royal dynasty of Idumean, which is Greek for Edomite, descent, ruling the Herodian kingdom, and later the Herodian tetrarchy as vassals of the Roman Empire. So that shows you right there, okay, that they didn't get destroyed during the time of the Maccabees, because what they were ruling, and they were vassals of the Roman Empire. Okay, and I want to also prove to you too that they're actually here today, but they're going by a different name. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into a book. Hold on. Okay, so this book is called Who is Esau Edom, which is written by Charles A. Wiseman. Okay, and he's a Edomite. All right, so-called white person. All right, and let me get to page 3. And when you go to actually page 5, it says the legacy of Esau Edom. It says to help answer the question of who is Esau Edom, the first necessary step is to examine the racial and genealogical history of Esau and his descendants. Now it says the life and history of Esau. Esau was the firstborn of Isaac, and thus was heir to the birthright derived from the direct racial lineage of Adam to Noah to Abraham. Thus Esau was racially an Edomite, a Semite, and Hebrew, the racial stock of the white race. Now, this is why this book costs so much money, because it let you know right here that the Edomites are the social stock of the white race. And then when you go into the Herodian dynasty, it lets you know that they're the what? They were the Greeks, which was the Herodians, and then they were also the vassals of the Roman Empire, which the Roman Empire is what they converted to anyway. They call themselves the Romans. All right. And get back. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get into some scriptures to show you, okay, the end of what's gonna happen to Esau, man, because the scriptures don't speak too nice about Edomites, and so when you know the men of the Lord, the prophets, okay, that are letting people know the truth of the scriptures, all right, starting with the apostles of Great Millstone, but then really most of these Hebrew Israelites, all right, are letting the people know that Edom, all right, is going into slavery and they're gonna be exterminated. That all you nations are really going into slavery, but this main topic is going to be upon Edom, which is stock of the white race. Because what happens is these people realize that the future for Edom isn't too good, man. The future for Edom, okay, is to be obliterated, man. Okay. And they're trying to debunk this truth, which is impossible because you can't do nothing against the truth but for the truth. Okay. So what I want to do, I want to get into some scriptures, but this is a great book. Okay, now this is the book of Obadiah, which basically, and there's many a plethora of scriptures, but basically it tells you, it exposes Edom, man. And the Lord to give, and basically the Lord is basically judging Edom and letting them know, okay, it basically is setting a case against them, and then let them know his judgment after that. All right, this is Obadiah 1, and it says, the vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against them in battle, which is what? Which is happening right now, which is World War III. Okay, the Lord is gathering the nations, all right, by giving them the technology of nuclear weapons to come up against them in battle, which is Edom. And particularly the capital of where the Edomites are here in America. It says, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, that are greatly despised. Well, how are they small amongst the heathen? Okay, because what's going on right now is that these Edomites, these so-called white people are dying at a high rate. You know, the Lord brought this opioid situation, all right, which is you know, a war against the Edomite race, man. Okay, during that crack epidemic, it wasn't a big deal at that time, but now the Lord is bringing it back to you now with this opioid situation. All right, and they're down at a high rate. Also, nature rejection, which is the sun. So the Lord is bringing the curses upon you, so-called white people, which is Edom. All right. It says here, behold, I have made thee small among the heathen, thou art greatly despised. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high. And that's what these so-called white people like to live in, man. These Edomites, they like to build their home, okay, and their places or their cities high to remind them of what? The mountains. Where they come from what? They come from Mount Petra, okay? They come from the Caucasus Mountains, Mount Seir, okay? Those were the clefts of the rock. This is why the Lord had these people, okay, put it in their minds to call them Caucasians, going back to the Caucasus Mountains so we can identify them. It says, the pride of thy heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwells in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high. That's why we got the Empire State Building, all these tall buildings, and these other nations copied off of them too. That saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Okay, because the main characteristic of Edom is their pride, and they're very prideful. Though that exalt themselves the eagle, which is what these so-called white people use, they use the eagle, okay, as their symbol of power. All right, when you go back to the Greeks, to the Romans, okay, even up to this day. All right, so I'm gonna jump down to the 10th verse. It says, "Say for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever." And there's many scriptures that talk about what the end of what's gonna happen to Esau, the judgment of them. The judgment of Esau is that they're gonna be exterminated, and that's also written in the book Who Was Esau? Edom. All right, but what they want to do is they want to say that that we're racist, which we are racist. All right, but all we're doing is just proclaim what the scripture's saying, which is breaking it down. So then what? You have propaganda against us, calling us black Hebrew Israelites, but Hebrew Israelites come in all different shades and colors, man. Because why? Because this is about a nationality thing, man. The people who are Edomites, which are what? The stock of the white race, which I read in Who is Esau? Edom. All right, it's all we're doing is letting you know the truth. That what? The Edomites are the stock of the white race, and the Lord identifies the characteristic all throughout the scriptures. All right, and what you did was you put your hands, okay, on the apple of the Lord's eye, which is the children of Israel, which is the so-called Black Hispanics, Native Americans. I don't have to remind you about 1492, okay, and 1619, or really 1615, 1614, where you put the southern and the northern tribe, okay, in slavery, and did did wickedness upon us, man. So that's what I'm reading. Obadiah 10. It says, "For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee." And this is just shame that you're being exposed. That when you read the scriptures, when it talks about Edom, that they don't have any salvation. All right, that they go into slavery. All right, and that they're not going to away. They can be scriptures. It says, "For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever." What does that mean? That means that what? That the Lord is eventually going to wipe you out. And we're starting to see that happening now. All right. When you go down to 18, it says, 17, I'm going to read. It says, "But upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame." Now, that's the question. Why are we going to possess their possessions? Because they're not going to be here no more. After 1,000 years, all right, you Edomites are going to be exterminated. And this chapter talks about in detail how it's going to happen. It says, "And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble." All right, "And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua has spoken it." And then when you go down to 19 and 20, it talks about that we're going to possess your lands. 21st verse, it says, "And Savior shall come up upon Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's, Yahweh Bashem Yahushua's." Let me get another precept. This is Ezekiel 25 and 12. "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh, because that Edom have dealt against the house of Judah by taking vengeance." And how'd you do that? Through slavery, man, and plenty other times. And it's going on to this day. You've taken your vengeance upon us, man, even though it was the will of the Lord, but you went overboard. "And hath greatly offended and revenged himself upon them. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, I will also stretch out my hand upon Edom, and will cut off man and beast from it, and I will make it desolate from Teman, and they of the down shall fall by the sword." Meaning what? The Lord is going to destroy all your governments. The Lord is gonna basically destroy the whole nation. "And I will lay my vengeance upon Edom by the hand of my people." What I just read you in Obadiah. "And they shall do in Edom according to mine anger and according to my fury, and they shall know my vengeance, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua." Why do you think these race wars, there's this racial tension, all right, is getting real thick. It's getting hotter. Okay? The scriptures talk about what? Race wars, man. Matter of fact, let me get it. This is Micah 5 and 8. It says, "And the remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many people, as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of the sheep." Meaning what? Meaning it's going to come a time where the Lord's going to put the spirit on us to get busy on you other nations, man. Especially you Edomites. "And teareth in pieces, and none can deliver." Matter of fact, I'm going to read it again. It says, "Who if he go through, both treadeth down, and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. Thine hand shall be lifted up upon thine adversaries, and all thy enemies shall be cut off." What is it talking about? Who is our enemies? You so-called white people and all you other nations. Okay, Edom. "And it shall come to pass in that day, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, that I will cut off thy horses out of the midst of thee, and I'll destroy thy chariots." Meaning what? Your power. All right? Your military. It is Obadiah 9:11. It says, "In that day will I raise up the tabernacle of David that is fallen," which is what? The Israelites, the elect, the 144,000 of the so-called Black, Hispanic, Native Americans, "and close up the breaches thereof." Why? Because it's not going to be a separation of both tribes, man. The southern tribe and the northern tribe are going to come together. Going back to Ezekiel, it says, "And I will build it as in the days of old, that they may possess the remnant of Edom," which is what you so-called white people, "and of all the heathen, you other nations too, which are called by my name, saith the Lord Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, that doeth this. Behold, the days come, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, that the plowman shall overtake the reaper." Now, what is that talking about? Okay, the slave is going to overtake the slave master, man. Okay? And who had the so-called black slaves in slavery? All you nations did, but really, who did the worst? You Edomites, man, you so-called white people. And it says, and treader of grapes him that soweth seed. And the mountains shall drop sweet wine, and all the hills shall melt. Meaning what? The mountains represents governments. Okay, so the what? What does it say? The plowmen, which are the Israelites, so-called black Hispanic Native Americans, we're gonna overtake the reapers. Which is what we're gonna overthrow the government, man. We're gonna overthrow these nations through the power and spirit of who? Yahweh Shah, who you people ignorantly call Jesus Christ. It says, and I will bring again the captivity of my people Israel, and they shall build the waste cities. Who's gonna build the waste cities? You are the nations. Why? Because the slavery is coming back in a big way. And inhabit them, and they shall plant the vineyards and drink the wine thereof. They shall also make gardens and eat the fruit of them. So this is why when the Hebrew Israelites, which is the so-called black Native Americans, all right, which are prophets that are starting with the apostle as a great millstone, we're rising up against and prophesying upon the four corners of the earth, and we're proclaiming this truth. All right. And when you go into the scriptures, who Edom is the stock of the white race, which they go back to the Romans, they go back to the Herodian Empire, they go back to the Greeks. All right, we got a couple more scriptures, then I'm gonna end it. This is Isaiah 34:5. It says, "For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea." Now remember when I went into the Herodian Empire, it said Idumea, which is a Greek word for Edom. Let me show you real quick. This is to go back to the Herodian dynasty. You see what they try to do is they try to hide who Edom is when they put in the Greek. It says the Herodian dynasty was a royal dynasty of Idumean, Edomite descent. And when you go into Herod the Great, it'll show you a picture of an Edomite, man. Okay? Show you a picture of an Edomite. All right? And then you go into Herodian kingdom. It shows, it said the Herodian kingdom of Judea was a client state of the Roman Republic from 37 BCE. And then when you go into all these Caesars, these Edomites, they're all so-called white people. When you go back to Rome, they were so-called white people. All right? So then when you go into the scriptures, you know that when it brings up Edom and when it brings up Idumea, it's talking about so-called white people now. Edom is the stock of the white race. Going back to what? The book of who is Esau Edom. And a lot of books, a lot of scholars which are Edomites, so-called white people, are brought out this truth, man. The 13 Tribes by Arthur Koestler. Right? It says here, it says, this is Isaiah 34:5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, which is what? You Greeks, you Romans, all right? You so-called white people. And upon the people of my curse. And who's that? You Edomites, which the Lord took away your pigmentation. Yeah, now we have confusion of faces. You know, brothers, okay, that look like so-called white people. But the Lord's going to give them back. We're all going to get new bodies, man. We all got to get new bodies. All right, that's why this is a lineage thing, man. All right, a nationality thing. Okay, this is going by the lineage of who? Two men, Jacob and Esau. It says the sword of the Lord is filled with the blood. It's filled with blood. It is made fat with the fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of the kidneys of rams. For Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai hath a sacrifice in Basra, which is a place where Edomites dwelt, and a great slaughter in the land of Idumea, because Basra is a code name for America. Wherever the majority of you Edomites are, the Lord's going to destroy it, which the Lord prophesies about America in the scriptures, which is Babylon, and it's going to be destroyed. And the unicorn shall come down with them, and bullocks with the bulls, and their land shall be soaked with blood, and their dust made fat with fatness. Whose land he's talking about? He's talking about the land of where you Edomites, you so-called white people are. And majority are right here in Europe and America. It says here, for it is the day of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai's vengeance and the year of the recompense for the controversy of Zion. Why is it the year of the recompense? Because when you go to Jeremiah, last scripture, Salakia, all right, and there's 2 more scriptures and that's it. Just to get the point through, because it talks about recompense. We know recompense means recompense means payback. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured. And you so-called white people, you Edomites, has devoured Jacob, man. All right, and it's time for payback when the Lord comes back. Who you people in you call Jesus Christ, which and his father, which is who you people ignorantly call God and Jehovah. The father's name is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahweh Shai. And guess what? They happen to look like so-called black people, man. Negroes. Well, they don't look like so-called Negroes. We look like them. They happen to be what you would call today, all right, Negroes, man. Jeremiah 30:16. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries. All you nations are our adversaries. But our main adversary, okay, our top adversary is Edom, Edomites, which is you so-called white people today. All right? This is not a surprise, man. We know that it's impossible, all right, for us to get along. Look what's going on with this Nike thing. All right? You so-called white people are showing your true colors. And we're letting you know that this has all been biblical. This is all scriptural. This has been prophesied. This has been talked about since the beginning, man. It says, shall go into captivity, and they that spoil thee shall be a spoil. You see? And all that prey upon thee will I give for a prey. For I will restore health unto thee, and I will heal thee of thy wounds, saith Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Because they call thee an outcast, telling us that we're what? We're not the real Jews, we're not the Lord's people, saying, this is Zion, who no man seeketh after. Thinking that what? The Lord forgot about us, man. But the Lord hasn't. One more. Okay, because this came, and this is out of the last book. All right? This is out of the last book. And this is what the Lord says. All right? This is what the Lord said, okay? If any man have an ear, let him hear. If I had the Bible, it would be in red. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity, and you so-called white people, you Edomites, have led us into captivity. And really all you nations, okay? You so-called East Indians, you so-called Chinese, you so-called Japanese, you so-called Africans, you so-called Arabs, all you led us to captivity. Okay, but the head of them, going back to Psalms 2, Psalms 83, is you Edomites, man. Particularly, out of you Edomites, where you're gonna get, we're gonna deal with you, is you Amalekites, man. That's out over there in Israel, walking around, taking our nationality, man. That's the real identity theft, man. It says, if any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity, you so-called white people, you Edomites led Jacob into captivity, shall go into captivity. He that killeth with a sword must be killed with a sword. And this happened to this day. Here's the patience and the faith of the saints. All right? So Edom doesn't have a great future in the scriptures. And I could go on and go on. I might do a part 2 to it because I'm about to hit a half an hour. But it talks about the extermination of you Edomites. And Lord willing, I could do another video later. All right, so with that, I'd like to give all praise and glory to Abba Yahweh, Bahasham, Hamashiach, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Wakal Kwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, who are the apostles and elders of Yasharallah. Peace and salutations to the Bayafat that would dial the house of David, the whole for elect. So until next time, Shalom.